news that caught my attention. So Trump claimed that he's going to lower drug prices, but this is nonsense. This is something he tried, exactly the same thing he tried in his last term, which was blocked being illegal, because as you know, the president cannot force American companies to change their prices. This is in fact what Republicans generally oppose. And so there is a way to do it. I was just listening to a podcast on the way in. There is a way to declare that monopoly price fixing is hurting Americans and they paid for it, and therefore you can break their patents and let third-party companies make the drugs cheaper for free, but he's not going to do any of that. He's just going to make a gesture that will pretend to fix it and then get blocked in the courts so we can get the headlines. In fact, he canceled the Biden orders that were lowering drug prices, which is what makes a lot more sense. This is kind of funny and a bit of schadenfreude. Elon Musk made his own AI and claimed that it was going to be not woke and it was going to be trained on Twitter data, so it would give you right-wing disinformation instead of accurate information. But somehow he made a mistake, and Grok AI is handing out accurate information, thus offending all of his supporters who want it. They say, this is the same kind of stuff I could have got by reading a legitimate news source like the New York Times. So apparently his attempt to force it to learn disinformation failed. So that's kind of funny. And Trump said he would make us respected by other nations, but as anybody could tell you, that has emphatically not happened. And this is the most important chart, I think. This shows over the last couple of years the relative popularity of China, the U.S., and Russia. And as you can see, Russia is going up and China is going up and the U.S. is falling down, about to be equal to Russia, which makes total sense since we have abandoned all our other allies and now we're a close ally with Russia. We should be considered the same as Russia, and both of us should be seen negatively as evil empires, and China is going to inherit the world. There has been talk in the past of the United States competing with China. I think under the Trump administration, we completely abandoned that and just handed the world over to China. So I think China is going to rule the next several decades, if not the next century. And maybe they deserve to. Our system does not seem to be working very well. So RFK Jr., one thing you can say about him is he's sincere. He does not believe in the germ theory of disease. He doesn't believe milk should be pasteurized. He doesn't believe in vaccination. So he took him and his grandchildren to go swimming in a polluted lake, polluted with sewage. So to demonstrate how none of them will get sick because they exercise or something. So the fact that he involves his children is pretty horrible, but he's putting his money where his mouth is. I imagine he'll have to cover up the medical consequences of this. We'll see. I do know there's a group of people that swim in the San Francisco Bay, which is similarly not recommended, although I don't think it's sewage pollution, it's some other kind of pollution. They tell you not to swim in it. There's a group of people that do it anyway. So this is pretty impressive, and it shows the extent of AI hype. So the new Pope chose his name to be Leo XIV, and he reveals he did that because of AI. Because Leo XIII was the Pope during the previous Industrial Revolution, when machines were coming up and it was threatening human dignity, and he sees the AI revolution as comparable, and he wants to be the representative of human values as opposed to the dehumanizing value of technology, which is not a bad idea. Just sort of interesting. He's taking the AI hype very seriously, which I tend to take it a lot less seriously. It seems to me like AI is just another thing. It's not going to change the whole world, but if you are a non-technical person and you listen to political people, they will tell you that it's going to end all work and replace everybody and everybody will be out of a job. And in fact, not so much. And apparently, this has been a contentious issue for many years. There are public airwaves like AM and FM TV and broadcast television. Very few people use them anymore, but they are now trying to lock them up. They're trying to switch to a protocol that builds in digital rights management, so everybody will have to discard all their old radios and televisions and get new ones if they want to access public broadcasts. And the EFF opposes this. It's interesting. I'm not sure. I don't have much of an opinion on it because I haven't used any of those things in a decade or more. I'm a wire cutter like everybody else. But I imagine there's a group of poor people who still listen to like broadcast radio and such, and have some purpose for it. I hear about this every couple of years. Somebody tries to end the AM bands and the FM bands, and I think they did successfully make people stop including AM radios in cars. And there's always a group of people saying, for some reason, we really need AM radio, the whole world will end if we don't have it. There's probably some group of people still relying on it. I don't know where they are. Anyway, this is pretty impressive. Texas sued Google for privacy violations, and the one that they talked about was that they are tracking everything you do, even in Chrome's incognito mode, which is absolutely true and arguably illegal. It's very interesting. If Texas managed to get $1 billion out of Google for that, all the other states can get in. This reminds me of the cigarette lawsuits, the tobacco lawsuits that came out, and maybe it'll actually do something about privacy laws. The other one I saw was, I think it was Kaiser or Blue Shield, some huge medical conglomerate, had to settle lawsuits that by having Google Analytics on their page, it was sucking up data about customers. And when I first heard about this about 2 years ago, I said, this is ridiculous. Every web page has Google Analytics, and it just records like what URL you're going to and stuff, but they decided that was in fact a violation of your medical privacy. So Google's slurping up all the data in the world and indexing it, using it to target ads, has apparently come under fire in the courts and may possibly result in some changes. We'll see. So you've heard about this quite a lot from other devices that depend on online things, but apparently now if you cheat in the games, Nintendo says they will brick your console, which is new. I think in the past they would eject you. They would delete your account from online game accounts, but now they say they're going to render the device permanently unusable if they detect hacking or piracy in games. So it'll be interesting to see if they actually do that. There have been a few cases in the last few years where people pushed out updates that destroyed devices, and people got very angry about it. So this is an application of ChatGPT I hadn't thought of. This woman believes in fortune telling through coffee grounds. Well, I've heard of tea leaves, but apparently also use coffee grounds. So she takes a picture of her coffee grounds and sends it to ChatGPT to deduce, through magic, the feeling. And based on this, she decided he was cheating and filed for divorce because ChatGPT read the coffee grounds and told her that he's cheating. So that's interesting. And, the husband dismissed the claims and said it's all nonsense. Now, I know in America, we have had no-fault divorce for a while, so this would not have to be a legal case, but if the Republicans get their way in Project 2025, they'll end that here. And in other nations, and in this nation about 40 years ago, it used to be necessary to prove in court that one partner had done certain specific things wrong in order to get a divorce, like cheating on you. So it may be apparently he has to have a lawyer and go to court now, because adultery is a real crime and proving it is really important to get a divorce. So I certainly get this feeling that I go out and do the protests every week that everybody supports us. There's essentially nobody on the other side. And so they've asked, and they found out that 52% of Americans agree that Trump is a dangerous dictator that should be limited before he destroys American democracy, which is certainly what I think. And apparently a lot of people are figuring this out, which is why he's beginning to do desperate things like try to cut down the tariffs on China and try to pretend he's doing something about drug prices. He's trying to do anything to become more popular, which is why the protests are so important, because other presidents were serious people like Richard Nixon or military people. They couldn't care less if people protest, but all Trump cares about is popularity. He's just a TV star. All he wants to see is ratings and crowds and people cheering for him. And he's really, really, really affected by anybody that would dare to hold up a sign and say he's no good. So it matters to him, and it matters to Elon Musk incredibly. He was out there crying publicly, how could anybody hate me? I'm a wonderful guy that's only benefited humanity, and I don't deserve this at all. It really matters that you protest, far more than previous administrations, because these are not serious people. These are just media figures posing to get popularity. They're basically like rock stars. All they care about is having a crowd cheering for them. They don't actually take any of this seriously, except that. So protest matters. And here's another use of ChatGPT. This guy decided he wanted free McDonald's food, so he asked ChatGPT to compose a complaint letter that would really embarrass the owners of McDonald's, and so he sent this to every branch he could find, and every one of them gave him coupons for free food so he can eat for free for months. So this is, I think, one way to strike back. You can use AI to help you navigate all the bureaucratic obstacles. I know I have a friend that works at a college, and college administrators, in case you don't know, are the most thin-skinned, petty tyrants in the world. They usually they're like Donald Trump. They want everyone to praise them and crawl and only tell them they're wonderful and never criticize anything. So the teachers I know at this college have gone to ChatGPT. write a request, but make it cringing and fawning and adoring, and they use it to translate all the requests into the appropriate language to compress the administrators. And it was one way to deal with a corrupt bureaucracy. And this I've been waiting for. Recently, they discovered that you can put bogus microcode in CPUs. CPUs have code that runs inside them, and the process of updating that has not been very secure. So there was a demonstration where they poisoned a CPU so the random number generator would always return 4. And now one of the Rapid7 researchers wrote proof of concept code for ransomware that hides inside the processor. Although he's not releasing it, he proved that it's possible, and there is no defense against this at all. I don't know how you'd even get it out there, except I guess physically. I guess maybe you can somehow replace the firmware in the processor. I don't even know how you would do that. This is pretty serious, and it hasn't happened yet, but many crime groups are moving in this way. Various crime groups are trying to move their malware to this low level where it's almost impossible to stop and remove. So, anyway,